If you asked your normal television-programmed American about 9/11, many would still say what a sad day it was, the day the US was attacked by Al-Qaeda's Muslim extremists. They're wrong about who did it, of course, but then again, they get their news from fake-stream media and have been drinking fluoride, getting vaccinated, and spent their entire childhood in government indoctrination camps. Al-Qaeda, which was a CIA creation, has now morphed into ISIS, and the same people are backing ISIS that backed Al-Qaeda. The US government, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the CIA, and NATO. Would your average American be shocked to know that the US government, and now Donald Trump, not only created ISIS, but continue to fund and support it? Well, they should prepare to be shocked, because it's 100% true and fully provable. In fact, there have been numerous admissions coming from WikiLeaks, politicians, and even picture evidence pointing to the fact that the US government is the largest supporter of global terrorism. Here's just one photo of John McCain with a few terrorist leaders, including ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Another example that comes to mind was when Hillary Clinton stated in a Fox interview several years ago, "When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen and equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan, and we were successful. If you look back, the people we're fighting today, we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets." So there you have it, right from the horse's mouth. Yet if you try explaining this to Americans, most will call you a crazy conspiracy theorist. Even though Julian Assange released a collection of around 17,000 hacked emails about Libya alone, plus many more providing proof that Clinton pushed for weapons to be sent to jihadists within Syria, including ISIS. Of course, Donald Trump is well aware of this fact, which is the reason why, during his campaign, he came out and said, "In fact, in many respects, you know they honor President Obama. ISIS is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. And I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton." While many thought it was wonderful how Trump made that admission, he later in effect proved his allegiance to the same terrorist organizations by signing a $110 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia, the same nation responsible in part for 9/11 and other atrocities. And it appears Trump is continuing to play his role as an ISIS/terror supporter. It just came out that a US-led coalition shot down a Syrian warplane attempting to target a fleeing ISIS convoy. This shows that the Trump administration is aligning itself with the Syrian rebel forces, also known as ISIS, against Bashar al-Assad. In response to this, Russia first scolded the US when their deputy foreign minister slammed the US downing of the jet as an act of aggression and support for terrorists, and then announced that starting June 19th, it will halt all interactions with the US under the framework on the Memorandum of Incident Prevention in Syrian Skies. Also yesterday, the Iranians launched missile strikes against ISIS bases in eastern Syria in retaliation to earlier ISIS-claimed attacks against Iran. It's no wonder that in the Western media, Iran, Syria, and Russia are the most demonized countries, because they are the countries in which the US, CIA, and Israel wishes to perpetuate destabilization. As always, the elite's intention is to use their typical order-out-of-chaos strategy to eventually swoop into these nations for humanitarian purposes and install their own puppet dictator who will enact beneficial policies on their behalf. And while the US funds Israel immensely, it is the Israelis who do much of the grunt work on the ground. Surprisingly, the Wall Street Journal even admits it. They said, "Israel has been regularly supplying Syrian rebels near its border with cash as well as food, fuel, and medical supplies for years, a secret engagement in the enemy country's civil war aimed at carving out a buffer zone populated by friendly forces." According to interviews with about half a dozen Syrian fighters, the Israeli army is in regular communication with rebel groups, and its assistance includes undisclosed payments to commanders that help pay salaries of fighters and buy ammunition and weapons. So with the US continuing to stoke tensions in Syria with the help of Israel and the Saudis, it is rapidly moving towards an all-out, multinational world war against Russia and Iran. We've already told subscribers of the Dollar Vigilante what we're expecting in the Middle East, and even by what date, later this year. And we'll release some of that info to the public soon. In the meantime, as this violence continues to escalate and threaten the lives of thousands of innocent people, it also poses a threat to your wallet. Much of this is being funded by the bankrupt US government, who must continue to print money in order to keep paying the terrorists. This too is part of the globalist plan, which Donald Trump is sworn into under his training as a Jesuit and even recent admission of being a globalist. That was how we knew he had been selected as president, by the way, when he and Hillary showed up at a Jesuit function with Henry Kissinger after one of their final debates. We released that video, Rigged Election, Hillary and Trump caught partying like best friends forever with Kissinger at Jesuit Gala at that time. But to summarize, the globalists are bankrupting the US while causing as much chaos as possible worldwide via ISIS and the US military. If this continues, and we suspect it absolutely will, we will see major war as well as a hyperinflating dollar in the coming months and years. All of this fake stream media coverage of the James Comey debacle and politicians getting shot at baseball practice is all meant to distract you from the escalating and impending war in the Middle East and subsequent collapse of the EU and the US. The dollar vigilante began in 2010, and we knew and expected this to happen. As such, we recommend investments in precious metals, cryptocurrencies, and other hard assets. Those recommendations earned a 99% gain in 2016 from investments in gold mining stocks, and we've earned over 100,000% since we began recommending Bitcoin at $3 in 2011 and Ethereum at $2 in 2016. Bitcoin currently sits at $2,600 and Ethereum is near $400. We also recommend getting out of Europe and the US as they will be decimated in the coming years via war, default, and hyperinflation. And it's all on purpose. Sign up to get all our information and advice at the Dollar Vigilante newsletter in the links down below. It's just a few dollars per month that could help you salvage your assets and also profit massively from being ahead of the game. Most people in Europe and the US will lose everything in the coming years. It's too bad. But if they're too stupid to see what is happening or too scared to do something about it, then there's nothing we can do. You can take action though, and we suggest you do. Things are going to get very crazy very soon.
You've seen the Dollar Vigilante on mainstream media trolling the fake news, and seen Jeff Berwick travel inside places like Venezuela and Cuba to expose the truth about what's happening in those socialist paradises. To get even more, make sure to subscribe to the Dollar Vigilante newsletter to receive 2 full 30-plus page issues from the Dollar Vigilante each month, plus market alerts on precious metals, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and gold mining stocks by going to dollarvigilante.com/subscribe. The Dollar Vigilante newsletter earned subscribers a 99% return in 2016 and is on track for more great gains this year. Click on the link in the notes below or go to dollarvigilante.com/subscribe to find out more.